everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video we have a list of 10 makeup brands that just don't excite me anymore. I've seen quite a few people do this type of video. The main person that springs to mind is Samantha March, so we'll try and remember to link her in the description box below. I do a video on my channel once a month which is the Will I Buy It series, and that is another video that is inspired by Samantha March. When I'm doing my research for the Will I Buy It videos, I do go to the Trend Mood 1 Instagram feed, and when I'm scrolling through I feel like there are certain brands that when I see there's something new from them I just kind of carry on scrolling no matter what the product is. I'm just not excited enough by the brand anymore to seek out what their future releases are. There is obviously the counterpart of this where I could do my top 10 brands that do excite me, so the ones that I always stop and look at what products they are releasing. But why don't we get started with the 10 brands that no longer excite me. So the first one that sprung to mind when I was compiling my list is Tarte, and I know this is a brand that is probably on a lot of people's lists. That isn't to say that I don't love Tarte as a brand, because so many of their products are staples in both my makeup and skincare collection, and I do like a lot of what I've tried from them. I just don't always kind of clamber to see what new thing they are releasing. I did make a recent purchase with Tarte because they had a 35% off sale, and when I was looking through all the products on their website there were so many products on there that I had never seen before, and I don't know if it's because they've not kind of marketed them really, or the fact that I've just seen Tarte when I've been looking at Instagram and kind of carried on scrolling. They do have a couple of new products that I have added to my basket and I have picked up, one being the new creamy shape tape, which probably when I've seen that one on Instagram I've presumed it's the same old shape tape and I've gone past it. They do also have a new glow powder kind of highlighter thing, which I think that's also in the shape tape family, so again I see the word shape tape, I think it's the same old, I keep on going. There are a few other brands that I am going to mention as well today that do have a kind of line of products that I feel like they've now officially bled dry, but yet they still continue to release more products as part of it. Tarte is definitely the first one guilty of that with the shape tape. They did also, I noticed on their website, have a new 5-pan eyeshadow palette, or I think it was 5-pan. It was very reminiscent to the Anastasia mini palettes and also the ones that Colourpop have now been releasing. I will try and put pictures up as I'm talking about products here on the screen. That does look like a really pretty palette, but I just feel like I didn't hear anything about it. And I don't know if because it is not copycatting as such, because it's a 5-pan eyeshadow palette that isn't kind of patented, but I just feel like there wasn't any advertisement or anything about these palettes being released, and I was quite intrigued to give them a go. I do have a couple of Tarte palettes in my collection and I do really enjoy them, and I would be quite intrigued to try that formula. The only formula that I don't think I've tried from Tarte eyeshadows are the ones that are in the, I think it's a Tarte palette, so they have the Bloom, the Toasted, and then they've got the new Juicy one which looks like that might be even a newer formula again. Would be quite intrigued to give that one a go. Not enough that I purchased it when I made my recent order, so that's kind of going back to why it doesn't excite me. And the things I put in my order were sort of staples and things that I was like, oh, I might try that, it's 35% off, but it was never enough of an interest for me to buy it at full price. And I think that's the problem with Tarte. I never buy anything from them full price. They never release something that I have to get my hands on straight away. I always think, oh, I'll just wait for the sale or wait till they discount it and things. So they just don't excite me, even though I do really enjoy them as a brand and I love so many of their products. The next brand to mention is NARS, and this does kind of stem from what I said about Tarte. They have their Orgasm line. They have released quite a few things from the Orgasm line, and again it's a thing whenever I see the word, whenever I see the word orgasm on Instagram, I'll refine that slightly. Whenever I see the word NARS Orgasm on Trend Mood, let's be very specific there, I do always just carry on scrolling and never stop and see what they are adding to the Orgasm line, because we've had enough orgasms. They need to stop releasing orgasms. Why did it have to be that word? Why can't it be something else where there's no connotations when I say it? Why can't it be like shape tape? I can say that as many times as I like and there's no connotations, but there's only so many times I can say orgasms, and it's lucky that I'm not monetized, otherwise that would probably be a strike against my record. But anyway, you get what I'm trying to say. That's the thing with NARS, there seems to be a lot of link to that line. They do obviously have other products in their line. I know recently they did release I think it was like the Solstice palette or something like that, but I know full well, again, I keep using scrolling through Trend Moods as an example because that is where I go for my new releases. I know as soon as I see the NARS packaging I just kept on going. that is a palette that I did actually go back to because I follow the Instagram page of Makeup Just for Fun, and she had actually done swatches of that palette. So when I was looking through, that came up on my feed of the swatches of this palette. It's a general neutral palette, which is kind of my aesthetic, but the swatches of it did stop me in my tracks, and it wasn't until I read the description and seen that it was the NARS that I then went back and had a look. But I never would have looked if I wouldn't have seen those swatches. But just generally looking at that palette, I would never have kind of looked into it any further. And I don't think there's anything of theirs that I've thought I have to have that now. I think I've got a couple of things from NARS in my collection, but I think half of them I've probably got in subscription boxes. And then I have got a lipstick that I did buy myself, but that was because I seen someone talking about it, not because I seen their advertising and thought I have to have that. So yeah, they haven't quite yet got my attention and made me want to try more from the brand as a whole. The next brand might be slightly controversial because this is a brand that quite a lot of people are clamouring to see what they're going to release next, but for me it's always a bit meh. That is Fenty Beauty. I don't know if it's because possibly a lot of their cheek products and things are cream products, and that's just not my aesthetic. I don't tend to go for cream products, I do much prefer powder products. So I think because possibly when I see a next release from them, I think, oh, it's just going to be another powder product, it's not going to be for me. And I just don't tend to like much of what they release. I feel like I'm more excited by what they release from Fenty Skin than Fenty Beauty. Don't get me wrong, I do have a couple of Fenty products in my collection. I have a lip paint and a gloss bomb, and I do love the gloss bomb, and it is something I would possibly consider purchasing another one of. But yeah, they just don't excite me with what's coming next. I just think I'll wait until I see someone feature it in a video before I even bother looking more into it. The only product that I feel like did pique my interest, which is kind of contradictory of what I've just said because it was a cream product, and that was the cream versions of the gloss bombs. Because as a gloss I do like a gloss to be more opaque, they did catch my eye and I did consider purchasing one of them. There wasn't any shades I immediately wanted to pick up, so I did end up passing on them. And I think this again is another brand that I don't really want to pay full price for. That's nothing to do with them, that's just me being cheap more than anything. But even when they release their eyeshadow palettes, for me eyeshadows is one of the main things that will catch my eye when scrolling through Instagram. The snap shadows that they had, but just none of them jumped out at me that I had to have them, even though they did have really pretty colour stories. From what I've seen online, they didn't have the best reviews of being the best palette, so I'm glad I didn't pick any of those up, but they just didn't excite me to want to even bother looking into them. The next brand is another brand that I do love, but they don't excite me, and that is Benefit. For me, Benefit are most well known for their brow products, their mascaras and their box blushes. Other than that, they don't really seem to be too out there with new products. I think they do try to be innovative. I know they have had that new mascara, which is a magnetised mascara, and then they did also have that brow product that was kind of the ink pen, which I tried and didn't enjoy it at all, so that serves me right for trying something new from Benefit. I have got mascaras in my collection that I absolutely love. My go-to holy grail brow pencil is from Benefit. It is the Goof Proof, and I do quite like the Precisely My Brow as well. But overall, again, another brand, when I see them releasing something new, I don't immediately get drawn into it to see what it is. I just kind of come back to it later because it doesn't really wow me. And I don't know if it's because the brand hasn't kind of changed its aesthetic and its packaging for a numerous amount of years, but I suppose that is part of the brand's kind of sell. That's how people know it is Benefit, and I don't think that a rebrand would go down well in that respect because I know people use them for a lot of their staple products. I just don't feel like they release enough exciting products. Even though they do try, I just don't feel like they hit the mark. I remember they brought out that brow product that looked like one of those pens from when I was younger with the multiple things that you pull down, and that product got slated. Since all those initial reviews, I've not seen a single person talking about that brow product. I think it was very gimmicky, and I'm glad I did give that one a miss. But yeah, I love the brow products and I love them generally as a brand, but yeah, they just don't kind of get me going, as it were. The next brand is Makeup Revolution, or I Heart Revolution, or Revolution Pro, whatever they want to call themselves. They are known as being a brand of dupes. Nothing they bring out is new because it is a brand of kind of dupes and they are ripping off another brand somewhere else. So whenever I see a product released by them, it doesn't immediately jump out at me as something new. Don't get me wrong, there have been times in the past where I've liked the look of something, like very back at the beginning of me getting into makeup. I liked the look of the Too Faced chocolate bars, and when I was physically in store in a Superdrug. God, do you remember being physically in store in any shop? So I really want to go and stand in a Superdrug and physically see makeup because it's been a long time. But with Revolution, they do have quite a big display in my local Superdrug, and I remember going in and seeing all the chocolate bar palettes and the mini chocolate bar palettes that they had. I think that might be the first thing they were known for duping. I think before that they did have a bit more of their own identity, but I just don't think they do anymore. I don't think I've seen a product that they've released that's not been a dupe or a rip-off of something else. But I know back then I did pick up a couple of their cheaper palettes because I wanted to compare them. I think they also had ones which was similar to the Urban Decay Naked palette. Again, I'm guilty of picking a couple of them up because I was too tight to purchase the Urban Decay and the Too Faced ones. But now that I'm more willing to kind of invest in my makeup, as it were, I don't seem to look at them as a brand. They have pulled me in with a couple of collaborations and kind of Disney things and stuff in the past, or really cute packaging. But I've always been disappointed by the products, so I think I'm now maturing and learning that I just shouldn't buy anything from Revolution, and they are a brand that I 100% always skip past on Instagram. I've not yet seen something that has really excited me that they've brought out in the past year, I would say. The closest they probably come to catching my attention was when they brought out some face palettes. I can't remember when that was, I will put a picture up. They were kind of 6-pan face palettes with the slant, and they had a matte and a shimmer side. I think they were supposed to be similar to the Cover FX palettes. They did catch my eye because I didn't think they were Revolution, and I was really tempted in picking one of them up because I do quite want to try the Cover FX ones, and again, I'm tight. But yeah, that's the most have kind of excited me in the past 12 or 18 months. The other brand is another one that I would say is quite controversial, that they don't excite me, and that is Charlotte Tilbury. Yet another brand that is guilty of flogging a dead horse, is that the saying, with the same range, because they have so many things that are pillow talk. They have a pillow talk lipstick in every different possible formula you could imagine. I don't know why they can't just release a different formula and call it something else. I don't know why it has to be pillow talk. Again, a brand I do have things from that are from the pillow talk line. I do have 2 lipsticks and a lip liner. One of the lipsticks I think is pillow talk medium, but the rest are just the normal pillow talk shade. Whilst the shade is gorgeous, I think they just need to put pillow talk to bed now, because for me, and I don't know if that's the case with a lot of other people, it does put me off. As soon as I see Charlotte Tilbury new release and see the words pillow talk, I'm like, nah, no thanks, next. So that does put me off, and I find that less exciting, because if they were bringing out something new, like completely new, and it wasn't linked to pillow talk, I think more people would be willing to look at it. I know from a few other people's videos that I watch, when they are talking about new releases and they say, oh, new Charlotte Tilbury release, oh, something pillow talk, you can kind of, the excitement kind of goes as soon as you see it's pillow talk. Because it is quite an expensive brand, they have probably got the money there that they could create new things. Although there is a product from Charlotte Tilbury that I do actually want to try. There is a couple of new brow products that she has released, and then I think she's reformulated an existing brow product, which, if I'm honest, I didn't even know existed. It's kind of similar to the Goof Proof, but what she's done now is she's bought it so that you can just buy the component once, and then you can just buy refills of the actual eyebrow product itself. And I do really like that idea. And to be honest, there are quite a few brands that are going down that route. I think actually Charlotte Tilbury has done it with powder products as well. I think the highlighter and the bronzers, you can buy refills for them. So I do really like that idea, and that is kind of exciting in a way, because 1, it's better for the environment, and 2, it'll save me money, especially at Charlotte Tilbury's prices. But I think my main gripe with the brand is the overuse of pillow talk. So that's why I included them on this list. The next brand is, again, another really popular brand to a lot of people, but for me it just doesn't kind of get me going, and that is Anastasia Beverly Hills. They are mainly known for me for their eyeshadow palette and also their brow products, and none of them really appeal to me. There was a time where I was really excited to get an eyeshadow palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and I did actually end up picking up the Novena palette. I was torn between that and the Soft Glam, and I wish I would have gone for the Soft Glam because I just didn't like Novena. It was my fault because pebbles don't work for me, but at the time I was trying to make them work for me. So rather than trying cheaper palettes to just test purples out, I thought I'll buy a £40 palette, which didn't work. So I think maybe if I'd have purchased Soft Glam, I'd have a different opinion of Anastasia Beverly Hills. But yeah, I just don't look forward to their next release. They did have a period, I can't remember if it was last year or 2019, where they were releasing back-to-back releases, and I think people generally got a bit bored of the brand. They were then doing branches off where some of the things were from Norvina, which they didn't say was like a sister line, it was kind of an extension of, and they had so many Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes released back-to-back, because I think they had the Sultry, the Jackie Aina and the Carly Bible one all released really close, and then not long after they'd been released there was 3 or 4 or even more of the Norvina palettes. None of them excited me at all. The closest one that I liked the look of was the Carly Bible palette, but it was never enough to purchase it. I never sit there and think, I wonder what ABH's next palette's going to be. There are brands like Urban Decay and BH Cosmetics and things where I think, I wonder what their next palette will be, kind of trying to imagine what it might be, or Natasha Denona and things like that, but ABH just never appears in my mind to think, I wonder what they'll bring out next. And usually it's a case of when I see what they're releasing next, it's just like, oh okay, next again. I don't know when the last time they released an eyeshadow palette was actually. It was probably one of the Norvina ones. I can't think what their last palette was. Just, yeah, generally they do not excite me. The next brand is Clinique. And I know Clinique is another one of those brands that is a staple brand that has been around as far as I can remember. And it is another brand that people will have a lot of staple products in their collection from the brand. But for me, they just don't ever seem to bring out anything that catches my eye. They do seem to have had the same products available forever. Like I think the flower blush things, I think they've just been around as long as I can remember. It probably is because they aren't a brand that is trying to gear themselves up as being for sort of younger people or for the next big trend. I think they are quite happy sitting where they are with the kind of age range that they apply to, where people will go back to them time and time again for the same products. So I don't think they're bothered that they're not an exciting brand. Just for me personally, I can't remember the last time I ever got excited about Clinique. I think they did try to release some kind of innovative stuff not that long ago when they brought out those moisturisers where you could put the different pods in the different moisturisers or things. So I think that was them trying to kind of dip their toe back in the water of, oh look, we can release something new. And I know a lot of people that has become a staple moisturiser, but I just think they missed the mark and it didn't quite capture the full audience and things. So yeah, they just generally don't excite me. The 9th brand I want to mention is the Balm. And this is a brand that has definitely, I feel like, slipped off the radar and quite a lot of people's radars. I did used to love things from the Balm and I was always excited for their next release. But the past couple of things that they have released, I feel like they have slipped under the radar. They haven't kind of made a big song and dance about them of, look what we're releasing now. They've just kind of been there and then talked about for a week or two and then just disappeared. I think their last big kind of hit, as it were, was the Take Home the Bronze bronzers, which is for me a kind of product that got away. I just kept saying, oh, I'll purchase it, and I never did. And they have, I believe, now been discontinued because you can't get them anywhere. They did release not that long ago, I think it was a couple of blush palettes where it was a little compact, and I think it was one blush was shimmery and one was matte. I think they've had a couple of cream eyeshadow palettes out and things recently, but nothing's got a general good reception. They've not had the best reviews. It's another brand with kind of similar packaging to Benefit. It's quite old school. They've not changed their packaging in ever, as far as I'm aware. But they are a brand that is kind of their identity. So I don't think a whole rebrand of changing packaging would do them any favours. I think they are what they are. But this is the brand, to be honest, when I heard the announcement that Becca was going out of business, I did think the Balm would be the first big brand to go before Becca. I don't know if the Balm is a brand that a lot of people have staple things from in their collection. I know they do a brow product, which I have heard good things about, and they have a couple of mascaras that I've heard good things about, but they don't ever seem to really feature in like people's favourites or like staple holy grail products, anything like that. For me, I do have quite a few products from the Balm, which, don't get me wrong, I do absolutely love. I have the Frat Boy blush and then I have the Meet Matchmaker palette, and they are both for me favourite products, but I just don't really see anyone talking about them. I don't see them having any new releases, or if they do, they don't really do a big song and dance about them, so they do go a bit unnoticed. And then the 10th and final brand that I wanted to mention is Tarte London. The only reason why I kind of added this brand to my list was because I had a list of 9 and I wanted to do 10, and I think I was on Feel Unique and just spotted the brand, so I thought, yeah, they never excite me with anything. This is a brand that to me, I only really see in subscription boxes. I never really see any new releases or anything. The only one I can think of, was it them that did the collaboration with Jessica Rabbit? That's the only thing I can think of that I've seen like a new release, even though that was a while ago. And it's the only thing I can think of that has ever caught my eye, and I've been kind of like, oh, Tarte London. I don't think, again, another brand where many people have favourites from the brand. I've never heard the best reviews of the products, and I never seek out to see what they're going to release next. They just seem to be a brand that kind of just exists but doesn't thrive. So in that respect, they don't excite me. So that was just kind of like an extra brand at the end to mention, because the main 9 that I had, I wanted to round it up to 10. But that is my list of 10 brands that don't excite me. If there are any brands that you think I may have forgotten, please put them in the comments below, because I'd be interested to hear other people's thoughts as well. But other than that, that is it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. Thanks.